Hello everybody and welcome back to another one of those videos where I talk about updates on Dwarf Fortress coming from Toady1 and Kit Fox. We got a bit of a doozy to dive into. Guys, they added Butchery. It finally happened. The game's playable now. Let's talk about it. The beta on Steam, where we've been testing the adventure mode conversion out, now has abilities. Butchery and crafting enabled. There are a few more menus to go, and we're going to start in on the magical stuff now, and this should be reasonably fun. So this is kind of two patch notes into one. We have the one from last week where the abilities menu was added, where you could pet things, spit on stuff, and do all of that nonsense. This is the crafting menu and the butchery menu. So crafting in Dwarf Fortress 6 is extremely basic. However, there is quite an extensive modding scene for the crafting in Dwarf Fortress, allowing for all kinds of crazy abilities and whatnot. Basically meaning all of the things that made all of the previous mods from the olden days cool are now back and enabled. Essentially, in vanilla, you can take rocks, bang two rocks together to make sharp rock. You can then pull on branches from trees to make a makeshift axe, allowing you to chop down trees and do all of the kind of construction stuff and some of the crafting stuff and make a basic weapon without actually having any materials to begin with, basically making naked starts possible now. Alongside of being able to fell trees easier, which you could sort of do if you happened to have an axe previously, but it's just easy to make one now. Butchery is quite powerful as it allows you to butcher any animal that you have killed, including named animals. So when you fell a grand beast, you can then butcher it, eat its meat, as well as take its bones and make crafts and bling yourself out. This is important because some types of creatures in adventure mode can only survive off of meat. A lot of the animal people are kind of stuck in that weird spot, meaning that it was virtually impossible to survive long term without them up until now. Essentially, at this point, you can become a necromancer and use your powers, and also you can survive as a fringe animal creature, meaning adventure mode is largely playable. However, a lot of the direction that adventure mode has had in the past is still not currently enabled. We don't have the quest log yet, and as they've mentioned here, none of the magical healing stuff that they've been talking about has been enabled yet. Although, holy crap, these patches hit real quick. I guess Tarn has had time to work again, which is great to see. The pace of these last two patches has been pretty quick, and this is honestly what I would like to see for adventure mode. I would like to see this beta patching once a week, at the very least, just to keep the people who are interested in testing it, and the people who aren't interested in testing it, anticipating a release, instead of just spamming dead game on the Steam forums or whatever. I'll have some tutorials out in the coming days talking about the possibilities of what you can do with these new abilities, but I need to dive in and play a bunch myself and actually suss out what is there and what is not, and what is still to be implemented, what is buggy, etc. I will say, adventure mode's still crashy on Linux. However, good news is it runs just fine in Proton, so I've just swapped over to compatibility, and we'll stick with that until it is patched. Another thing that I think is kind of amazing, and to me almost bigger news here, is that Zach and Tarn found an underground creature notebook, which is one of the things that was talked about in the last interview I did with them. And on the screen right now, I'm going to show a series of images. These are images from old school Dwarf Fortress prototypes and mock-ups. These are the original drawings that Zach and Tarn mocked up together while designing the very basics of the early 3D game for the underground creatures. And there's some things here that you'll recognize, and some things that'll look a little strange, and some things that never made it even into the game. And honestly, I would love to see that magma walrus because it just looks like a smelly walrus. And the magma seal, also a big fan of, because that would go along real well with the magma crabs, as well as, of course, you know, your Gorlak and your cave fish man and all kinds of other fun creatures. I do recommend you go through these, and honestly, this makes me want some PDFs and high-quality scans of these so badly, I would pay a decent amount of money for them after all. Are you going to play adventure mode now? In the last video, I actually talked about update. A lot of people said they were still waiting on Butchery. Butchery's in now. Are you about to dive back in? I'd love to know. Talk to me in the comments section. And for you guys watching this video still, thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to click on this video. But YouTube has been making it more difficult for people to exist on this platform. It's not that I'm quitting YouTube, I have no interest in doing that. However, I do want to build something stable off of YouTube that isn't connected to something like Patreon. I'm building a blog. On this blog, I send out weekly posts with roundups of all of the content that I've made, as well as in the future, near future, I'm going to have Patreon-like tiers where you can pay for extra extra benefits. And these will be benefits that are very similar to my Patreon, plus some behind-the-scenes stuff that you'll get in blog format that you wouldn't get on the Patreon. As well as the interview that I did with Putnam this past week, all of that audio is now available for free on that blog. So if you would like to hear the uncut version of the interview I just did with Putnam, you can find that on the blog too in the most recent post. I'll link to that post down in the description of this video. Check it out if you're interested. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.